Good afternoon, everyone. I have cleaning on my mind, so I thought I should do a plan with me cleaning edition. And the reason why I'm wanting to kind of zero in on this is to show you two things. One, that the Evergreen Planning Method can be used to tackle any practical thing that you have in your life, from like huge goals to just daily tasks like cleaning. And I wanted to show you an approach to cleaning that is maybe a little more aligned with the Evergreen way than some of the approaches that are out there. And I wanted to explain an Evergreen way of thinking about tackling something as mundane and routine and daily as cleaning your house. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is an evergreen mindset shift when it comes to cleaning and how I approach this issue, and really what matters most when you go to approach an issue like this, like literally anything that you're trying to tackle. It's helpful to get the right mindset shifts in order so that when you go to tackle those things, you can come from a place of peace and calm. And that is what we're going to be talking about. The mindset shift for this situation, for cleaning specifically, that I like to think about when I am kind of planning my own rhythms around this is, how do I solve for the problem of overstimulation? So we live in a world where overstimulated very easily, right? And especially those of us who manage several different roles. I am a wife and mom, homeschool mom, and run a business, and my husband works from home, and I'm a church member, and there's just a lot going on all the time. And so with managing a lot of different roles, my homemaking is just one of those roles among many. And so I know that in addition to that, living in a digital world with the ability for anybody to be able to get a hold of me whenever they want, that kind of mindset or that kind of a situation context means that it's very easy for me to get overstimulated. And I think that's a problem for a lot of us, is that we are overstimulated just due to screens and due to just how much is going on all the time and how many details we're trying to juggle in our minds. And so if you can approach cleaning with the desire to remove overstimulation from your life, and you can recognize that even something like a daily mundane task like cleaning, if approached in a certain way, will add to overstimulation instead of removing the overstimulation, I think that can really help for you to just recognize that when you dive into something like that. So all of the tips that I have here, and I'm going to be doing a planning session and show you what has already happened today. I'm going to share a little bit about how I would add cleaning into my week, using real life examples of my own life and my own week. All these tips, though, that I'm going to share with you as I go about this plan with me are all coming from the mindset of how do I solve for overstimulation in my life? How do I help cleaning be something that does not add to my overstimulation problems, but actually reduces the amount of stimulation that I have in my life? That way that I can increase how much peace I have, how much calm, how much focus that I have. And for those of you who have joined, just so that you guys know, you are welcome to ask questions. I have it set up where I can actually see questions and interact with you guys, so that will be really fun. If you wanted to pipe in, if you have anything that you want to share, anything on your mind, any questions, I'd love to answer them as I go, because I can see. Okay, so let's talk about tip number 1, and that is that cleaning is a necessary discipline, right? And so I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about reducing the amount of tasks that we are trying to do every day. That way we can focus on the things that matter most. And while cleaning is not one of those huge, life goals necessarily to, that's not where that falls. It is a necessary discipline, right? For us to live in homes and create environments for our families, for our loved ones, for ourselves that are life-giving. And so cleaning is a necessary discipline. And regardless of whether or not you actually see a block for cleaning on my time blocker or on my to-do list or as a top target, the cleaning is definitely happening every day. But because I am approaching this with the mindset of I don't want to increase my stimulation, I don't want to overstimulate myself with all of these cleaning lists with an abundance of details to manage, since I'm approaching it with that mindset of wanting to just reduce my stimulation, help calm myself down and simplify this situation, then I am wrapping up a lot of the disciplines of cleaning into my other habits and rhythms. And we're going to talk about how I do that and what that kind of looks like when I'm using my planner and what I know I am including when I am planning out rhythms and time blocking and things like that. And I talk about my morning rhythm or my evening rhythm. I know because I've created these rhythms what will be tackled when it comes to just daily cleaning within those rhythms. But that helps me not to just constantly be managing a ton of details. When people start to use a planner, I have noticed that they get really overwhelmed very easily when they try to write down every single task that they're going to do that day, because their entire planner ends up just cluttered with details and things. And I'm not saying that if you need to use your planner in order to get really disciplined at cleaning, that there's something wrong with that. No, there was a season in my life when my planner was filled with cleaning details because it was a discipline I was trying to train myself in. I was not I'm a naturally very messy person. I'm not very organized at all by nature. And so I had to train myself to keep a clean house. And in doing so, there was a season of my life where my planner was mostly full of cleaning details. But now in this season, because I've created so many rhythms around it, I don't have a lot of cleaning details in my day-to-day life. And by not having to write every single thing that I'm going to do down, it helps me to keep all of this space open for, in the season of my life, what my focus is and what I'm training myself in is more efficiency and discipline around work tasks and business tasks and things like that, and some other things. But this is free by having wrapped up so many of my cleaning disciplines into my rhythms. It freed up a lot of bandwidth for me to have more time, more energy, more emotional energy for bigger goals. And my cleaning is now kind of in the background of my life, which was what I wanted it to be. A second thing that I wanted to mention before I really get into the nitty gritty is that excessive and inefficient cleaning will fill your weeks with unnecessary busy work. And that is, I think, really important to note. We can think that we are being really productive, or we can trick ourselves. We kind of know when we're not being super productive, but we're really being busy. And I think cleaning is one of those things that can be really tricky because it's, it can be fun, but it's not necessarily it's work. And so if we keep ourselves busy cleaning, a lot of times we think that we're doing great. I'm always cleaning, I'm always being productive. But if we really look at our schedules and we look at some of the goals that we're having a hard time making progress on, and we realize that we could have a lot more space in our lives if we were more efficient in the way that we tackle something as routine as cleaning, if we could apply efficiency techniques to it, if we could batch, if we could streamline, if we could create rhythms around all of it in order to open up bandwidth in our lives for things that are even more meaningful, or things just expanding our lives into new directions so that we're not spending so much time just being busy cleaning. That was a mindset that I walked into marriage with. I knew a lot of people who spent a lot of time and they never had time for much else besides cleaning. And that's just what they did with their time and with their days. And I'm sure there are lifestyles where that makes a ton of sense, and vocations and callings and things where that makes a lot of sense. So I'm not knocking that. But what I'm talking about that I think needs to be just thought about is what are we called to do? And what are we not being able to find the time to pursue that we know that God is calling us to do? cleaning is a really sneaky source of unnecessary busyness that we could tackle, like I said, with efficiency techniques so that we can actually uncover an abundance of hidden time in our lives for other things like more hospitality or maybe business or maybe, getting to the next level in your career or maybe spending more time with friends or, you would have to dig down and say, what is a heart deep goal that I'm not finding time for? And if you're here, cleaning apparently is something that is relevant to your life, something that you're thinking about right now. And so ask yourself, is there a way that I could apply efficiency techniques and maybe even an evergreen approach to the way that I clean so that I can uncover an abundance of hidden time in my life to use for something that is even more meaningful than just being busy cleaning in an inefficient way. So that's kind of the mindset that I have when I go about planning and making these kinds of shifts in my life. And it's my motivation for consistently streamlining my approach to something like cleaning, which is just part of my homemaking. There's so much more to do besides just cleaning, right? When it comes to making a home and creating a beautiful environment that's life-giving for my family. And I do not want to be the mom who cannot be present and engaged when my family is sitting around the fire because I am still up furiously trying to tidy everything up or scrub something. It's like, no, I want to take advantage of those opportunities to be there and completely present and engaged with my family. And also I want to have time for things like running a business. And so cleaning is a huge thing that by streamlining this part of my life, that has opened up so much time for things like that. All right. So the other thing that I want to tackle is knowing your seasonal focus. So like I said before, there's been a time in my life when my seasonal focus was homemaking. Okay, I shouldn't say that because my life always includes homemaking as a really core focus, but it was specifically getting routines and streamlining the cleaning aspect of my life, of my homemaking, right? And so I would have a lot of cleaning to-dos. I would have a lot of, I'd make that top targets, especially decluttering my house because I used to be a total clutter bug and it took me 3 years to get to the place where I'm at now, which was a goal that my husband and I had. And a 3-year journey. It was crazy how much junk clutter that I had kept. And so that was a huge journey that we had. And there was a season when that's what primarily I was using my planner for, was to master efficiency in my homemaking, and specifically when it came to cleaning. So that was my seasonal focus then. I knew that that was a lead domino. If I could knock out that priority, if I could streamline my cleaning and create an abundance of extra time for myself for other things, then I would be able to start a business. And it was literally the fact that I was not efficient as a homemaker, specifically when it came to cleaning and when it came to keeping an organized home. It was specifically that pain point that prevented me from being able to start Evergreen Planner for 2 years. And so that was something that I knew the Lord was calling me to get a hold of, to figure out. And like I said, it took a long time of discipline before I could get to that point of being okay, my home is in a place where when I go to work on my business, I don't come back and feel like everything is now just a tornado that I've got to clean up after. And so again, all of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you is with all of that in mind. The goal is not to overstimulate ourselves with just millions of lists that we're trying to keep up with, but instead come up with a very streamlined, efficient approach to cleaning. And I'm going to share with you how I do it. And like I said, to those who were here before, you're welcome to ask questions because I have it set up where I can see my screen mirroring on my laptop. So I will be able to see any questions that you have. Okay, so minimalism, like I said about clutter, that was a huge pain point for me. And I wanted to point that out too, because these are all the foundational things that I'm about to get into the nitty gritty of. Now you can see my time blocker and my week grid when it comes to efficiency and cleaning, and this week specifically with real life examples. But minimalism is the last foundational thing I wanted to cover before I dove into all that. And I wanted to point this out because I think that I'm not recommending everybody become a minimalist. And I think that there's so many different definitions of what that means. But all I mean is really just essentializing your environment and making your environment something that is actually sustainable to be taken care of by the people who live in your environment. And I think that with our homes, especially with just live in such a materialistic culture, it's very easy for us to have way more things than we even want to have, right? And just have them hanging around. And I know that was me for a long time. My life was just so full of clutter, and literally 80% of what I was doing for cleaning was literally just moving around, reorganizing, and wiping down clutter that I didn't even care about. And so whenever I was able to get rid of 80% of what we owned and bring it down to the things that we actually cared about, the things that were actually life-giving to us, which was, like I said, a 2-3 year journey of me using my planner specifically for that goal, that really changed everything, because I wasn't spending my time shuffling around stuff that we didn't really care about. You pay for the things that you own with your time. You've heard that before, right? And so I think that that's just another really good foundational thing. We would count ourselves as minimalists. I mean, we really aren't in comparison to some people, but again, it's a very relative term. And the idea is just really more essentialism, like you having the things that you really need in order to thrive, and no more than that. So, okay. So now let's get into the nitty gritty of the actual things that I do on a regular basis in order to keep my home, running well, very tidy and clean for my family. And I should say that I do not do this alone. I'm going to time block my days while I talk about this. I do not do this alone because I am not enough. Like, my family lives in this home with me, and they add to all of the cleaning that needs to be done. And they are also using dishes. They're also using laundry. And of course, I want to serve my family. However, I also know that my husband and I, we have talked about this a lot too. And I think that has really helped for us to be 100% on the same page about this particular thing. But we do not want all the cleaning just to fall on my shoulders. We believe in being a team. We believe in teaching the children to be part of a team. And so we all pitch in together, and I'm not doing all of this 100% by myself. However, I'm going to point this out. I do believe that is my calling, according to what the scripture says, to guard my home and to be the keeper of my home. And therefore, I am consistently thinking about this from a management perspective. I'm thinking about this with operations in mind. And I'm going, okay, my family has to be able to keep up with all of these things that we're trying to do. And my family's not going to be able to keep up with it if I insist on perfectionism, if I insist on clutter, if I insist on, not doing those overarching, larger scale projects, decluttering, whatever I need to do in order to give them a platform where they can succeed in keeping the home clean. So I believe that's my job. I believe it's my job to create a good canvas where everybody can clean up. Everybody knows where everything goes. Everybody knows what it looks like, what a clean house looks like. And everybody has, the list or whatever that they need and the input from me in order to keep the home running well. So I do believe that that's my job, and I've taken that extremely seriously, and because I really want my family to be able to succeed in this particular thing. But with all of that said, I am not doing all this by myself. I can't do it all by myself. Not in run a business, not in homeschool, not and be able to have time in the Word, to be able to have time to develop myself as a person. And so being on a team with all of this is extremely important. And that's where I'm going to show you my kids' list that they have. And I pulled it out to be able to show you what that is. And also, I'm going to show you kind of how that looks when it comes to our rhythms. I'm also going to talk about how today was a little bit different than our normal cleaning rhythms. And I think that's why it's on my mind, because today was a little bit outside of the ordinary. And so I was actually thinking about cleaning more than I usually do, because usually it's just wrapped up in my rhythms, and I'm not. Okay, so let me just start. I've got this in order, so I want to go in order so I don't get all off track here. Let me show you the morning lists that my kids use, and I've got to make sure that y'all can see it. I've got this up on my screen so I have it right. Okay, so these are our actual morning lists. They're very well loved, very well lived in. I need to change out the, this is like a page protector, and I took the rings off. I just kind of cut them off. And then I have a magnet sheet right here on the back. And I was just sharing this inside of our community, the collective, the template for these, and giving a lot of tips on how to implement things like this in your home. And so I focus a lot more on how to teach kids. I'm not going to go into all that on this live, but how to teach kids, how to take responsibility, how to be consistent with their morning list and things like that. I went into all that in the collective, in our community. But this is an example of, I gotta turn down this notifications here. I'm gonna hear it this whole time. I forgot to pause notifications. Okay, so this is what I have hanging up on the refrigerator for my kids. And how I like to do it is I keep their chores just all on this list. We don't have anywhere else in the house where there are chores. Now, at some point, this might evolve as my kids get older, but right now this is working out really well. And we have been using this exact type of list. I mean, I've updated it throughout, but for like years. So my kids are very used to this. Go to your morning list is a phrase that they hear every single day. And so this is what their morning list is. And so this is for my 7-year-old. She's about to be 8. And this is for my 4-year-old, and he's about to be 5. So, and that kind of gives you the idea of what I expect from them at the ages that they are and what they really do well and what they can succeed at. So this is morning lists. And I always mention morning list in my planner. So when I'm time blocking, right here I've got, this was my quiet time, this was a meeting that I had, and then this block right here, and this is just today, it's a little bit different than my normal rhythms for various reasons, but this block right here was my time for home. Now, it's usually, this is how it always is. I always have a block at the beginning where it's like quiet time and then work. If I get up early enough to do that, which it just really depends on my health. I have chronic health issues, but if I'm having a strong day or a strong season, I'm up early to do a block of work, of deep work time before I come in and I do homeschool. Like I just do my time with the family. And then after that, I come back out and I'm doing another block of work at that time. So let me write that down, block that out here so that you can see it. And it's going to be a little bit messy since I'm on live, and okay, we're going to call that good. So this is an example of how I time block. Now I know that brown means deep work for me. I know that yellow means more of like administrative shallow work kind of thing. And I know that if it's blank, it's like margin time. Green means like I'm hands-on with the kids. And this is just how my color schemes work. I mean, you can do anything. And then blue means I have a meeting, because like blue is just a call out color for me. And so when I have all of this clarity for myself, this is pretty close to what a normal rhythm looks like. I don't always have meetings right in the morning, but a lot of times this is just brown because it's all deep work. But my point is that I always know that I have this block here that I can do homemaking stuff with the kids. Now, a lot of this block is typically filled up with homeschooling, but I'm very, very streamlined in the way that I homeschool as well. And so in this particular season, this block of time, in addition to my morning and evening rhythms and lunchtime. So like our rhythms in the morning, at lunch, and in the evening wrap up most of our routine cleaning. Okay. Oh, I'm really glad Villa Society 13. But this block right here, the this green space is when I am hands-on with the kids. Like, that's what that means more than anything. Usually it includes homeschooling, morning basket, our homeschool routines go right there. And sometimes it'll go a little bit into my afternoon work and all that. But this is the block. I know that if I need to train the kids to do something in this season that's very work heavy, I'm working a lot of hours right now, this is when I need to do it. So an example of how that played out today is that I had these morning lists, and I was looking at them, and I've been telling the kids for a while that I needed to update them because David is old enough now to unload the dishwasher. That used to be Elizabeth's job, and they've had the same morning list for like 3 to 6 months. And so David, I could tell, needed to be more challenged by his, and he was ready for that. And Elizabeth was able to take on more of the responsibilities, which means that, I don't have to do that anymore, which is fantastic. And so we updated the list. And when I did, I had the kids, okay, you guys, we talked about it, we updated it together, and we did that during this block of time. And then when I put them up on the refrigerator, I said, okay, you guys go do your morning list. Well, they knocked it out all the way until they got to put away your laundry. Now, this kind of brings up another way that I approach cleaning altogether. I have my rhythms. I have my morning, lunchtime, and evening rhythms. I have my weekly rhythms when it comes to cleaning. And I have something else I'll show you in a minute that's just kind of like project days. I love to batch what I'm working on because it helps my days to run smoother. So the larger blocks of similar tasks as I can get, it's like I can then have these mega blocks to build my lifestyle with versus hundreds of teeny tiny little things that shift, that I'm trying to squish all in together into my life, and I'm trying to build my life out of it. So I'm jumping from this thing to this thing, this thing, this thing. And again, that overstimulation is such a kicker. It just kills our productivity. Decision fatigue kills our productivity. So I try to take as many, instead of, having 12 different cleaning targets I'm trying to hit each day, I want to pull it together and turn it into as simplified as possible by batching these tasks together and streamlining, automating what I can. This is an example of an automation. These are now all these things are tasks I don't have to write down on my planner, right? So I don't have to write down anything about the kids' hygiene on my planner. I don't have to write down anything about their rooms on my planner. I don't have to write anything about their laundry getting put away or these specific things having to do with the kitchen. My kids, because I've trained them to help out in the home, this is all of these things are automated in our days. It's all automated in one single statement that I tell them, which is go to your morning list. And their daddy will tell them that too. And we hold them accountable. They have to do this part of the family. And while they're doing their morning list, so I'll show you what it usually looks like in my planner. I told you, it always happens during my hands-on with the kids block of time. And like I said, a lot of times this is actually a little bit larger than it was specifically today. But with this time, we'll do, I always have it like this. I have AM lists. That's how morning lists. And then that's all I write down. So all of these tasks have just been automated in one single thing I write down. So now when I'm sitting there with my planner and getting ready to start morning basket, and I've got a whole nother system for that, if I can pull it out here. Well, let's see. Thought it was going to be a little bit easier. Anyway, so I've got my morning basket stuff here on this Sunday page because I don't have to plan on Sunday. And so I'm sitting here with my planner doing this morning basket and flipping back and forth, updating whatever's going on that day. And I see this morning list. I've got this open checkbox there. And that reminds me to hold the children accountable to finish up their morning list, because morning lists have to happen before morning basket. And we just call it morning basket. It's just morning time. It's when we do our family style learning subjects for our homeschool. And then after that, we've got, math and reading. And then if everybody is being really efficient that day, we still have, and especially if I'm here, usually I have another hour or hour and a half with the kids, more time for other fun things that we want to do, or tackling a project together, or whatever that is, And so this specific system, like, this is what I write down every single day: morning list, morning basket, math and reading. And morning basket for us, I mean, my kids are only 7 and 4, which they're about to be 8 and 5, but like that covers our science, our history. I mean, our read alouds, like all the subjects besides reading and math. And then math and reading, they have their, core curriculum. So I have to make sure that we are making progress on their core curriculum, like their academic skill curriculum, I should say. Okay, so that is what that automates all of this. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is, while they're working on their morning list, I have a short list for myself of things that I just notice in my home that need to be done. And while they're working on their morning list, I write that short list and then I tackle it. And I get as many things done as I can while they're doing their morning list. We're all cleaning together. It's really great for morale. We can put on praise music, whatever. And I tackle my short list. And then when they finish their morning list, I come and sit down with them. I wrap up whatever I'm doing. I have to make sure I don't get into a whole cleaning vortex, right? Because it's morning basket time, right? And we need to have that time preserved for it. So I think about that, but I'll have like a short list and I'll say, I'm trying to think of even what I did today. But we didn't actually, so this is what I usually do. I'll have like sweep porch, cause I noticed it, or, dust house. And so this dust fans, so this is the kind of thing this is what my cleaning lists usually look like. It's like 2 or 3 things that I noticed. Maybe I'm like, I need to hit the bathroom. I have a routine for my bathroom, but sometimes I just notice it needs to be done. So I want to do it in the morning and hit it in the morning. And I'll explain all of that. But this is what my cleaning list looks like. I stick it right by that block of time right here because it helps me remember that these tasks need to be anchored to kind of that block of time. The reason that I do it this way is I have a habit of allowing my home to be my visual to-do list. Now, I know a lot of people say don't do that, but it works really, really well for me. I think a big reason why it works well is because I've worked on essentializing my home. And so our home has a capacity to be at 0 is what we call it. 0 means it is tidy. It's ready. Like, people could come over and I'm not worried about it. It's not perfection, but it's tidy. Everything is where it needs to go. Things are cleaned up. And what I call 0 for the kids versus what I might call 0 for myself might be a little bit different too. But I just like, for them, all the school shelves might not be as tidy as I'd want them to be before people came over, for instance. But it's still, they don't have school stuff everywhere in the living room. They don't have toys strewn out in the living room. They don't have clothes on the floor and things like that. They know what 0 is. All the beds are made. Everything's tidied up. We don't have any overflowing trash anywhere. We don't have dirty dishes anywhere. Like, the sink is empty. We've cleaned the kitchen, that kind of a thing. That's 0. And everybody knows it smells good in our house. So because my family knows what 0 is, and we'll say that sometimes, like, guys, we got to stop and get the house to 0. Everybody knows what that means. It means resetting the house, getting it fresh for everybody to live in. We have that tendency. So because we have that as a regular rhythm, if I see I can very easily spot what is out of the ordinary and what is that thing that really needs to be tackled. And I can allow my house to be a sort of to-do list and a visual to-do list, because it's starting with a home that feels very pleasant to me and feels very calm. And so that works because I can see any issues like a sore thumb because of how tidy it usually is. I don't say that to brag. Like I said, any of you knew me 4 years ago and walked into my house, you would have seen a disaster because I am not naturally a clean person. I'm a very messy person by nature. And learning how to clean and organize my home was like insanely hard. And like I said, I used my planner for years. as like that was something I had to tackle before I could, really grow beyond that and be able to master that so that I had bandwidth for other ventures, like having a business. And so that was, so that is why. So if you're in a state where you're like always overwhelmed by your house, do not use your home as a visual to-do list. You need to brain dump, like get out a fresh, spread in your planner or notebook or something like that, and brain dump a huge to-do list. And we actually have in our shop, it's a product called Taming Your To-Do List, and it will show you how to go from a brain dump to-do list to a functional number of lists that are broken down and help you to be able to focus on one area of your life at a time and finally make progress instead of having an overwhelming to-do list. And so that's in our shop. It's Taming Your To-Do List. But also that content is going to be taught in Renew, which we are doing in January. It is a 6-week experience where we are going to be diving into content like this, not specific to cleaning. It's going to be the overarching principles and teach you the Evergreen Planning Method so that you can apply it to any area of life. And you can do things like say, okay, I want to declutter my home. That's a huge project. And now with the Evergreen Planning Method, you're going to be able to take something as huge as I need to declutter my home. And it will walk you through the habits and the approach to planning and time management and focus that you need to be able to take something so huge like that, break it down, and actually plan it into the way that you make choices throughout the day so that those things are getting done and you're making progress. You're going from, I need to declutter my house to, wow, I can't believe I decluttered my house and now I have so much time. Like, that is what the Evergreen Planning Method is designed to help people do in whatever project that they're trying to tackle, but in the context of real life, not pausing your life for, an extended amount of time while you're trying to get your house clean, but instead saying, okay, I see the opportunities to make progress on this, actually planning that into your month, your week, your day, making that progress. And so that's what, and also just getting really essential about what you're tackling and what your priorities are in any given season, any given day. That's what the Evergreen Planning Method will help you to do. If you're interested, then comment simplify and our automation will send you more information about that so you can get on the wait list. And you definitely want to get on the wait list because there are going to be early bird bonuses that nobody else will get. So get on that wait list if you are not already so that you don't miss out on that. Okay, so talked about morning lists, and I did want to touch on how children love order. The green sheet, Tiffany, are you talking about this? Because this is the morning list that I posted about in the collective that you saw. So Tiffany is part of the collective. Hello, Tiffany. And this is just that morning list up close. I think that's what you're talking about, Tiffany. Okay. And I went more into depth earlier on the live about all of this. So, okay. Where was I at? Yes, kids love order. And so this might feel like, oh my gosh, I will never get my kids to actually participate with me in something like this. Like, I have to do everything. And there's just, I think that is a dream world where an automation where you can say, go do your morning list. You write down one thing so you make sure that you follow up on it and you inspect what you expect, But then they actually do the thing. And it's just a matter of training. It's actually super possible to do. My kids were actually super excited when I updated their morning list. They sat there at the printer and they jumped around and then they ran up to the refrigerator and they started working on it. Kids love order. And I think a lot of it is how we talk about it, how we talk about cleaning, how we talk about work. Do we model a good work ethic? Do we act like we enjoy doing work? Do we complain when we do chores? Do we make it possible to succeed in doing your chores? Do we train them with calmness and peace and kindness? And I'm not saying kids are, my kids are definitely not perfect. They whine their fair share about having to do their chores. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying that a lot of how our kids in America think about work has so much to do with what we teach them about work. And so if we can teach them really positive ideas about work, and we have that straight in our own hearts before God, and we recognize, like I just told my kids the other day, I'm like, God created you to bear his image in the world. And as image bearers, a core calling of ours is to bring order out of chaos. And when you're sitting down, like that's what God did when he created the world. The second verse of the Bible talks about the Holy Spirit moving upon the face of the waters, and moving upon the face of the deep, and then moving upon the face of the waters. And just that movement there in that verse is all about God bringing order out of chaos. And then he continues to do that throughout the creation story. And as his image bearers, like that's what we're called to do. I explained that to them. It really encouraged them a lot when they were then doing their morning list that day. And I helped them, like illustrated how each one of their things was part of them doing what God called them to do, what God created them to do, in bringing order out of chaos. And so I think just bringing them on as a team, really teaching them good ideas to encourage them. And also on ideas, one last thing. So believing that your kids love order, that's a huge deal, because they really do. Like there's so much science around that. God created kids to love it, and they just do. They love a clean place. However, the second thing, and they'll help with that, the second thing is also modeling good ideas. And so we do that with like lots of read alouds and books. We do not allow read alouds or books or TV in our homes where kids are complaining about chores and that's made funny. Like that's just not allowed in our home, because I don't want my kids to be looking up to someone else making jokes about hating chores, because that is going to sink down into them. And because they're so young and so impressionable, that's going to have a huge impact on their outlook on something that's such a huge part of their life. Like this is their job right now. This is their career. This is the making of them being able to have the work ethic that they need to have to be able to move into the world with a strong work ethic, with being able to earn respect, being able to be productive and to do good things and focus and follow through, and all these different things that I want them to be successful adults. And so I'm not going to bring literature, movies, cartoons, songs, whatever it is, into my home that tells them, hey, you know what? Chores are for the birds. You're being, tortured by having to do these. Or like, it's such a bummer to have to work. It's such a bummer to have to serve other people. Like that is not true. And I don't allow that stuff in my home. So I think really guarding your home for the kind of ideas that you let in it can really change a lot for how your kids even think about things like these chore lists. Okay, so we talked about the kids and their morning list, and that automates so much. All right, so a second automation that I have, and I actually don't write this down, but I know it's just is such a habit that I don't have to write it down, but there was a time when I did, okay? When I told you that when I was trying to get my home under control so I could have the bandwidth to do something like start a business. In that season, I was writing this down, and it would be every time I had a gap, a transition. So see these white gaps right here? You need to have white gaps. And that's your transition time. Every time I would have a transition, before a nap, after a nap, before a meal, after a meal, before school and after school, whatever it was, before we go outside, after we come back in, there was this transition, right? It's a very natural thing in every day. And I always took advantage of those transitions for getting tidy. So an example is like we were coming in from the car. And, everyone, of course, we've just been out. Nobody wants to pick up the junk that got left in the car, right? But that's a great transition to anchor a quick tidy with and say, okay, kids, get your junk out of the car. There's trash. Here's a bag. Fill it up with all the trash, and grab toys, grab water bottles, bring them all inside. And, myself cleaning up any trash that I have in the car too. That's like an example of using a natural transition. It's a discipline, you guys, but those kinds of things change the game. So we always, before and after meal, it's like before the meal, we properly prepare the table for the meal. I don't mean like we set the table to the nines with cloth napkins and candles every time, but I'm just talking about like we clear it off, wipe it down so that nobody has sticky table to eat on, set the table like in a very basic way, eat together, and then we clean up the table. Like, we do not leave dirty dishes out. And the kids know, like, with that transition, meal is over, they're bringing their plates to the dishwasher. Mom and dad are, knocking out the dishes, loading the dishwasher, whatever. We're sweeping, we're cleaning up any crumbs. We are, we might tell them a couple of chores to do because we see it right then, picking up trash and all that stuff. That is happening at every mealtime. That is happening before we leave the house. We knock out a bunch of things that we just all know we want to come home to a clean home. And so we just knock out as much as we can before we have to walk out the door. And everyone knows if we're in a transition, expect that you're going to be given instructions on how to help pitch in as a team to get our home back into order. Whether we were just playing, now put everything away. Whether we were just doing school, now put everything away. We were just eating, now put everything away. We're about to eat. Get it prepared and nice because, we're putting away our art stuff so that we can have a nice clean table to eat on. And when you do that consistently, people stop arguing about it. They just do it with you, which is amazing. So I highly, highly recommend that. And that was actually the very first victory, I would say, that I ever had, was picking out transitions that I knew that I could easily, like, okay, we just got up from eating, we're cleaning off the table, and those types of things, those types of transitions, and being able to make them good ones. Now you have to start small with it, just like with anything, you have to start small, but that was like the first win and a good habit of, I have this opportunity. Another one of those transition things, my mom taught me this, was when you leave the room, if you're going into the kitchen and you see things that need to go to the kitchen too, I don't care if you put them in that room or not. Like, pick up the cups that are on the, that are sitting around and bring them to the kitchen, even if you didn't get the cups out. And so that was part of being a team, and my mom just taught it to us. And so we were constantly, like, I've learned I don't leave one room and go to another without something in my hand. And so in that way, I'm being able to tidy as I go. But it's really hard to learn how to do these things. It takes a lot of cognitive effort. It takes focus. It takes emotional bandwidth to get some of these things, these habits. But once you do it, it becomes so part ingrained in how you just are that you become a person who, instead of as a tornado running through leaving a mess, or your children, doing that too, you become the kind of person who is consistently just bringing order out of chaos everywhere you go. And your kids will follow suit with that if they see you doing it, and you're very encouraging and you actively train them to do that too. Okay, so we've got our biggest cleaning time is our evening rhythms. And there was a time whenever I would write down a short list of things that I would do in my evening rhythm. And that was while I was learning my evening rhythm. But my husband and I do it together now, and I don't have it written anywhere because we always do the same things together. And we do evening rhythms together as soon as the kids go to bed, or maybe while they're still in the process of getting to bed. I mean, he's cleaning the kitchen, I'm sweeping floors, vacuuming, I'm going around tidying up the house. If I see that it needs to be dusted, I'm dusting it. And then when I get a shower every evening, and as soon as I get done with my shower, or maybe even before I take it, whichever way, I clean the bathroom because I'm in the bathroom. We only have one. So I clean the bathroom while I'm taking a shower, and that anchor, and it makes it easy because I want to take a shower in a clean bathroom. Like, I want to have a pleasant experience while I'm in there. And so what better thing than to run in there and get it nice for myself before I, need to do something and spend a few minutes in there. I don't want to spend a few minutes in there if it's not nice and clean and tidy. And so that is an anchor that I have. And you have to sit down. Like I said, comment simplify if you want the Evergreen Planning Method. That is going to help you learn the principles behind all of this, because this is just a specific application. It's cleaning. But how do you learn to think this way? How do you learn how to create anchors? How do you learn how to take what is an overwhelming, overstimulating to-do list in any area of life and turn it into a whole system of life-giving rhythms, of essentialized project lists that you can just knock out, things that are automated in your day, things that you are just you're thinking in a very efficient way, and it doesn't take extra effort on your part because you have trained yourself to prioritize well. How do you do that? Comment simplify, because in January we are going to be teaching you the Evergreen Planning Method, and the experience is called Renew. And that is what we're going to be doing, is helping you to learn to think in an evergreen way so you can take your thorny problems that you have in your life and transform them into daily action that helps you to move forward on all the things that you care about in a very calm way, in a very integrated, relaxed, and simplified way. So comment simplify if you want information about that event so that you can get on the wait list, because there are going to be early bird bonuses you will not want to miss. Okay, so our evening rhythm, my husband and I knocked that out. That knocks out 80% of the housework. And before I get into my week and anchoring tasks there, let me explain what happened today. So we actually did not end up doing our normal school rhythms today. I thought we were going to. But what happened, and I didn't even have time to sit down and make this short list for myself like I typically do when it comes to cleaning while they're cleaning. But what happened was that they were doing their morning list that I just updated this morning. And when they got to put away your laundry, they started to act very overwhelmed. And that's when I remembered, oh yeah, their closet is a wreck right now. Now, it's because they grew and they got some hand-me-downs, and their system, our whole clothes system was just did not grow with their clothes, so there was just, it didn't fit well. And so they were getting to the point where every time they got to put away your own laundry, they could not fit stuff into drawers, and they got very overwhelmed by that. My kids love order. Our whole family does. We've trained ourselves to love order. And kids do naturally, so we leveraged that. And so when they get really, really overwhelmed because it's impossible to finish a task, that is not when I become taskmaster. That's when I step back and go, okay, how do I make this easier on them? So our entire morning block where I was hands-on with the kids became a practical life. So practical life is a subject in our home. It just means learning real world skills that you're going to need as an adult. It became a whole practical life block of time for our school where we actually went and just decluttered their closet together. And during that time we chatted, we did a lot of decluttering, and we got their closet where everything fit again. And my husband helped hang, Anyway, we basically solved the problem in their closet over this period of time. Now, this is an example of batching a huge thing. That could have taken a really long time. People do let things like wardrobe shifts, wardrobe updates, or, fixing a closet and making it more functional and stuff like that. I have noticed that people let stuff like that, one, cause a lot of problems in their lives when it could have just been solved. Solve the small problems that have a huge impact on the rest of your life, right? When we don't solve those problems, when we just let them linger for a long time, we don't understand that when we do that for a lot of different things, we allow so much friction to just drag on our lives, and it siphons away our emotional bandwidth for other things. And we end up navigating a bunch of unsolved problems with our time. Don't do that. Don't navigate a bunch of unsolved problems. So one, I was like, okay, this is the problem I need to solve today. I need to deal with their closet. And so all these things that I had been planning to do, I just said, you know what? It's fine, because we need to do practical life today. And so that's what we did. We did practical life. I know this stuff is going to be taken care of in an evening rhythm or tomorrow. And we did practical life, and we dealt with their closets. And they tried on clothes, and we talked about like this whole situation. We talked about, why it's important for everything to be tidy, why we have to let some things go, why, et cetera, et cetera. We had those conversations. And then of course, once we got past those conversations, like while I'm continuing to fold things, my daughter sits down with a book, and she reads to us like the legend of the Little Dipper constellation that she found in one of her books. And so she read that to us, and we discussed that. And then we started talking about Morse code, and she started trying to test me to see if I knew what words she was saying in Morse code. And of course, I don't know Morse code, so I had no idea, but it was fun anyway. And it was educational. So I'm sitting there dealing with this during our homeschool block. They're still learning. We're still having great conversation. My daughter is reading aloud to us and talking about Morse code. So we're getting in like a good little educational conversation and really tackling this practical life thing that needs to be done. I'm being able to stay within my block of time to be hands-on in the home with the kids and things like that before I have to come back out and work. And that whole situation just goes really, really well. And I know I can move like this. We have rhythms, good, strong school rhythms. My kids are doing great in school, so I'm not worried about that. And I'm also not worried about the fact that this short list of things that I would like to do needs to be moved to tomorrow, or sometime later this week. It's fine, because we knocked out a huge lead domino, which was getting their closet to the point where they could put away their laundry solo, which means I'm not doing it. You see, like, this is, without that, and this is what was happening for the last few weeks, just because we were so busy and I wasn't tending to that, I was putting away their laundry. So it was just an extra task that I needed to do that could have totally been automated if I took care of that lead domino priority, got their closets where they could do them themselves, and then they could go ahead and march through their list like normal. So when we did that, that meant that these things actually, because that took up so much time, the rest of these things did not get done today because of that. Now, I told my husband when he kind of took the baton on them, I was like, they didn't finish their morning list. It's up to you whether or not you enforce that. Sometimes he'll do that after nap time. He'll tell them to go ahead and go finish their morning list when they get done with naps while he makes dinner and things like that. And so sometimes that happens. Like, our goal is for this always to be done before we sit down for morning basket, but sometimes things happen, and we took care of a huge deal, which was getting their closets back in order, doing a huge purge. I was able to also, during that time, catalog what they had so that whenever I go shopping for their winter wardrobes, I know. I was also took notes in my phone about what sizes that they are. Again, this is really a way of thinking. It wasn't that I had all this written down. It's not that I am just like think in a different way, in like some kind of inherent way, because like I said, I'm busy, I'm absent-minded. I have a busy mind is what I meant. I'm absent-minded. I'm a messy person by nature. And so so I had to train my brain to think this way. I had to train my brain to say, hey, we have this opportunity to knock out this thing. This is going to make everything else easier. So let's go ahead and take it. We'll make it good, quality time, practical life lesson for the kids. It's going to make all this easier. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start making lists on my phone for when I go shopping for their winter wardrobes. Here's updated sizes. Here's what doesn't fit them anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And so that when I go to the thrift store, I have all that information, because we do shop at thrift stores because they're the best. Okay, so that explains that. And then I said evening rhythms. Okay, so let me talk about using this when it comes to week. So I do quick lists for anchoring batches of other tasks. So like I said, I don't believe in having just lists and lists and lists. And actually, I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I feel like it'll be easier to explain this. So this is the only cleaning list I ever use, if I ever use a cleaning list. I have this here in my annual booklet. I just have It's right there in my planner so I can access it easily. And I have it just on a blank spread, and I've got this little tabby thing so that it's easy for me to get to if I want to. It's Fly Lady, as you can see. And she has, her zone cleaning. I'm sure you've heard of it before. There's like tons of content about this on the internet. And if I am particularly overwhelmed, which happens sometimes if it has a season of chronic illness or something else is happening where all of those rhythms I just explained fail me. They're not enough because just enough days go by where things pile up, and I can't, I don't have the energy because I have chronic illness issues that are flaring up or whatever else is going on. Like some other huge thing is happening. We're away from home a lot or whatever it is. And things start to slide. That's when I just pull out this list. And I love it because it's like an evergreen list. Like not Evergreen our brand, but Evergreen, the concept of an evergreen list. And so you don't have to print out new ones. You don't have to go crazy and extensive and have a notebook that's just full of ideas on how to clean your house. Because I think that's very overstimulating. It works for some people. I'm not knocking it. If it works for you, that's awesome. But if you feel overwhelmed by those notebooks that you open up and they're just covered in just lists of all these different things you could do to clean your house. Every day do this, every week do this, every month do this, every quarter do this, every year do this. That drives me. I could never do that. I would never make myself follow something like that. It's so overwhelming, and it would take so much of my bandwidth away from the other things that are way more important to me than making sure I clean, the windowsills on the 6th Tuesday of every, or the, 3rd Tuesday of every month or something like that. I'm like, that'd drive me crazy. For some people it works. It does not work for me. So if that doesn't work for you, consider a list like this. I got this off of Etsy. If you just type it in, Fly Lady at a Glance on Etsy, you can find the shop it comes from. I'm sure because I cut it up. And just put it right in my, so it fit on my spread here. But it's just literally her zones. And if I get overwhelmed, I just start zone cleaning and I say, okay, this week I'm going to work on our zone 1 entrance, dining, and porch. And then it gives you a list of ideas of things that you could do on that week. And then the next week I'm like, okay, we're working on the kitchen. And there's a lot of deep cleaning stuff on these lists. And I just start zone cleaning according to it. Now, I don't force myself to zone clean forever in order to feel like I'm doing a good job as a homemaker. If my family feels comfortable in the home and I don't feel like I have to be beholden to a system that works for other people, I'm completely fine with making it as efficient and low key and streamlined as my family needs, and organic as my family needs, and not have to be as, I don't have to clean under my appliances once a month or whatever, just because other people do. I will do that whenever that makes sense, because I have a specific project of really deep cleaning my kitchen. And so that's when we're pulling out appliances or whatever. But I'm not going to do it just because a list tells me to do it, especially if it breaks other things that I need to tend to. And so let's just not put pressure on ourselves with these types of things. But I really do like this one for, again, that evergreen. If I'm really getting overwhelmed, I need to not have to think about what needs to be done. I need to just zero in on something and just chip away at it week by week. I'll turn to this and I will zone clean until I feel like I'm on top of things, and then I kind of go back to my normal way. So I wanted to explain that because it is the only list that I use, but I mentioned in there the projects. I love batching tasks, and I create projects out of what I'm going to do, and I treat things like that. So instead of being I need to clean 72 things every single day to keep it all up, that's terrible. I wrap as much into my rhythms as possible. I automate what I can with my kids' morning list. My husband and I hit our normal rhythms every evening, and then everything else gets wrapped up together and batched as projects. And so I will have a project of cleaning like 2 appliances in my kitchen, like 2 deep cleaning them, like my refrigerator and my convection oven. Like I'm going to go into the depths of that 1 week or something like that. Like a lot of times I anchor cleaning out my refrigerator to the fact that we're going grocery shopping at Costco. We're going to come back with a ton of stuff, and I don't want to cram it on top of food that might have gone bad in the back of the refrigerator. And so before we go to Costco, I know we're going to do that the next day, so I clean out my refrigerator really well so that, and do some tidying in their pantry, and then that way we can easily just throw all of our food into there. So like anchoring in that way and creating projects that are based on real life, what's really going on, not some arbitrary list, is so helpful to me. And so an example of anchoring is that I have coming up a trip coming up. And so I have anchored here to pack for we're going to Chattanooga. We do that every year. It's a lovely marriage trip retreat. And so pack for Chattanooga and pack the kids because they're going to their grandparents. And then another thing that I will do is to put to clean house. And so I'm going to use this trip to get a little bit more cleaning done than I typically would. And that's where I can, like I say, than I typically would. Like it all gets done in my rhythms. But like we're about to leave and we're going to want to come back to things, nothing getting just like left. And so that's where I'm going to create this list. And it's like a project of where I want the house to be before we go on our trip. And so I have that anchored to Friday. So we're not leaving until a different day, but Friday gives me that, buffer there. And so that knowing that I've got that time ahead of time before we leave, and then that this is what we're, it's anchored to the time. And so that means that day is a project day for not only packing, which I have all that streamlined as well. I mean, like I can pack us super fast. So not only packing, but also into the, getting the house ready before the trip. And so I'll create this project list here of everything I can think of that I want tidy, clean in the house. I'm not going to go crazy because I have all this other context I need to think about. Everything else that's happening in my week with work and with homeschooling and with, all the other meetings and everything that I have. So I'm not going to go crazy, but I am going to say, what do I want done before my trip and what, and I'll make this list here. And then a lot of times I'll just like fold this list up and then I'll tape it right below this, or I'll stick it like on a, clip it here, or I'll clip it to my planner on whatever page that I'm on. Because if I have this with me, then I can see things like, oh, I can knock this out. Like I'm going to anchor it into doing all that on Friday. But I can also say like, oh, let me go ahead and just knock out this thing that I needed to do instead of get it done ahead of time before Friday, because I'm seeing it. I have this opportunity to. And so having this list with me just helps me to know what I'm going to be working on before my trip. And so I will fill that out. I won't bore y'all with all the random little things and fill it out right now, but that's an example of what I will do. So I also do this kind of thing all the time, like say like, oh, my kitchen really needs a good deep clean. I look at my week, I look at my month, and I'm just going to go to a past month, and I look at my month and I will say, okay, here's what's going on. And so I have time like right here to work on whatever it is before. So like right here, you can actually see I wanted to recaulk the bathroom. And so I had that 2 times set up for in my month that I knew I could block out, try to protect those days for me to be able to have time to tackle that project. And I had a short list of things, just like I'm showing you here, and it said bathroom, and it was more than just caulking, but like a whole like little list of things I wanted to do to make the bathroom just kind of refresh it and make it nicer. And so I figured that out on my calendar, try to block off those days to protect them, had my little short list, and I was ready to go when that time was ready. But also helped me not to worry about it before that time was, the opportunity was there. So I had like a few weeks of time that I've been thinking about it, but I was like, hey, I already thought about it. I already put it here. I already ordered what I needed to from Amazon. It's all in boxes. Like, I have everything I need. I'm prepared for this. And I don't have to think about this right now because I don't have time to do it right now. So I don't have to think about it. And it really helped me not think about it so I could focus on like work or whatever else I needed to do. That wasn't that because I didn't have time for it yet. Okay, I'm just see if there's only one last tip. And that is having a day of the week that you do deep cleaning. And so I learned that tip from my sister. I know a lot of people have that tip. But we teach this again in Renew. We're going to show you how to create weekly rhythms. And that is a great thing to have as a weekly rhythm. There are things that you can just take care of in your daily rhythms when it comes to cleaning your home. But if you feel like you're cleaning all the time and that you just wish that you didn't have that on your mind every single day, a lot of people have found success by doing what I learned from my sister. And she has just a deep cleaning day every week. And she has a secondary day for if something happens where she couldn't do as much as she wanted to. So I think hers are like Wednesday and Saturday, if I'm correct. But having one anchored themed day that's for cleaning is so helpful. And that allows you to just say, I'll get to it on Thursday. For instance, if it's Thursday, I'll get to it on Thursday. Like, I don't have to break everything I'm trying to focus on today when it comes to my work, or when it comes to something else I'm trying to do, when it comes to spending time with my kids. We were going to go on a walk. I don't have to break that, all of that momentum that I have towards that thing, because I'm like, oh man, actually, I know that I need to write these emails or whatever, but actually I haven't cleaned out the fridge in a long time, so I should probably just stop and do that. It's so helpful to have it anchored and have a weekly rhythm all clarified in your brain where you can be like, no, I'll clean out the refrigerator on Thursday. If you know that you have a day that is set aside for that kind of thing, it helps you not to do that productive procrastination thing that people do that keeps them from meeting their goals. If you have a series of sales emails you need to write in order to grow your business, you do not need to spend your time that you were supposed to be writing those emails cleaning out your refrigerator. You need to have a day when you can put those types of tasks and say, no, I'm going to get to that on Thursday. Or if you were going to take your kids to the museum, you always say you're going to take the kids to the museum, but you never take the kids to the museum because you always get up and you see that there's so many different things you need. Oh, I have a free day here. Yes, I know I was going to take the kids to the museum, but I don't have to do that. And look at how dirty my house is. It's like, no, I can do some quick tidying to just get things a little bit more in order, and we're going to the museum because on Thursday I'm cleaning my house. So having that theme for your week and having one day themed specifically for cleaning helps a lot of people. In my season right now, we don't have that. We're taking care of it in our daily rhythms because it's working, and because of just a division of labor in my marriage and everything, it's working right now. However, whenever I am responsible for a lot more, which is typical in most seasons, has been that way, and I'm responsible for a lot more. My husband has more of the work projects that he needs to do in the afternoons, evenings, and stuff like that, which, like I said, is typical. Right now we have it flipped a little bit because of where we're at in the business. And so when that's the case, I rely on that weekly rhythm and pushing things off to my cleaning day in order to manage my business and homeschooling and all those different things and stay focused on the right thing on the right day. Like I said, we'll teach this to you in the Renew experience. And so if you want to think in this way, if you want weekly rhythms too, that will sustain You being able to create a rhythm for your cleaning and amongst everything else that you need to do in life that is sustainable, then you will want to learn the Evergreen Planning Method. We will be teaching it in our Renew experience in January. So comment Simplify if you want to get on the wait list for that, because you will not want to miss being on that wait list. There's going to be bonuses that you will be able to have access to as an early bird that nobody else will. You won't want to miss out on those because they're amazing. And we will teach you how to create rhythms, how to create weekly rhythms, how to think in this way and take your difficult, whatever it is that you are trying to tackle in your life, and simplify and streamline in your life, and help you take that and create systems for yourself that are not hard, guys. Like, I'm talking about cleaning a lot right now just because like that's what I chose as the theme for this live, but I like almost never think about it, which is amazing, because used to how overwhelming and dirty and disorganized my house was all I could think about, because I am a naturally messy person. And so, but the Evergreen Planning Method is literally what changed everything for me. And that's something that my sister and Clary and I developed it over the years, but it came out of that season of my life when I was like, none of the time management content out there is helping me. None of the systems that are being taught out there are really helping me to figure out how to have enough time for everything that I need to do. I feel like I never have enough time. I'm very overwhelmed by my task list. I'm very overwhelmed by basic things like cleaning, and I don't know what to do. And if that's you want to comment Simplify right now, and our system will send you, our automation will send you information about the Renew experience that we're having in January. It's just 6 awesome, simple challenges for how to find and uncover an abundance of hidden time in your life. Train your brain to prioritize effortlessly. Like, it's actually really easy to train your brain to prioritize better. And it just comes down to a few mindset shifts and habits that you can implement that are like really, really simple. And then also so that you can reset all your rhythms for the new year. That's happening in January. It's 6 simple challenges. Comment Simplify if you want to get in on that. And just thank you guys for being here. And I hope that you can find some great ways to simplify your own cleaning rhythms, because life is too short for us to be spending a ton of time just like taking care of all the wrong details and fretting about all the wrong details. We really can take these things, simplify, streamline them so that we can make space in our lives for the things that we actually care about so much more in our lives. We need to have clean homes, of course, for a big part of our calling and taking care of our families, but also this can be such a simple background part of your life so that you have tons of time left over for the things that really matter most to you.